Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Headline. Now, how many people died in India due to COVID-19? This figure has been controversial, very hotly debated, and has seen widely divergent claims. Now, an official figure has come to light as per the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and it pegs the total COVID deaths so far at 5,23,693. Of these, 1,48,994 took place in 2020. 3,32,492 took place in 2021. That's almost double in the second year when we saw that deadly second wave. And 42,207 took place in 2022. That's, of course, so far till the month of May. The claims of how many deaths have taken place in India, meanwhile, have seen a lot of versions. A recent New York Times article, for example, claimed that the WHO estimate would show closer to 40 lakh deaths due to COVID-19 in India. Meanwhile, more data that came out, and that's also important, CRS, that's the Civil Registration System, has put out death and birth figures overall in the last few years in India. It's a 2020 report. The number of registered deaths has increased from 76.4 lakh in 2019 to 81.2 lakhs in 2020. On the other hand, registered births have decreased in 2020 when compared to 2019. So 2.48 crore were born in 2019 and 2.42 crore registered births in 2020. Let's first listen in to Dr. V.K. Paul. He's commented today on those official COVID death toll figures.
Now, this report is based on the information on births and deaths, and in our context, the deaths being part of the discussion, which are emanating from the entire country through a systematic process of registration, both births as well as deaths. So what you're getting to see in this report is the actual number of deaths registered and actual number of deaths being reported by the states and as vetted by the Office of the Registrar General of India. So these are actual numbers that are being recorded in the country, in the entire country.
All right, Dr. Rajiv Das Gupta, member of the National AEFI Committee, is joining us on the show just to give us perspective on this number. Dr. Das Gupta, thank you so much for speaking with us. Now, why has the death toll for COVID-19 been so controversial in the first place? Can you give us some perspective on that to start with?
Thank you. Very briefly, why it's been controversial is because in a pandemic situation, it is extremely difficult to accurately capture deaths. Now, that's been known from day one. So as early as April 2020, WHO came out with a technical guidance on what constitutes a COVID death and how it should be counted. Now, let me also underscore the point that it is not controversial just about India only. Counting these deaths are as difficult everywhere, and therefore each country has taken steps to calculate the extent of undercount, and therefore we can expect corrections to continue as more and more data come in. And to that extent, the Civil Registration System 2020 report that's released recently does offer additional insights.
No, but so having said that, Dr. Das Gupta, if identifying the death and the cause of death as COVID is so difficult, then can we assume that this data accurately represents what happened? Because there's really no way of knowing, but the second wave for sure and the first wave saw so many losses and people lost so many near and dear ones. Is that 5 lakh plus figure actually accurately representing what happened?
Okay, let me try and unpack it as far as possible. Now, the broad purpose, both at the national level as well as at the global level or through inter-country comparisons, is to estimate or to be able to estimate as accurately as possible the extent of excess deaths in a particular year. Now, all of these deaths may not necessarily be COVID deaths directly, but these would also constitute other deaths where, for example, on account of the pandemic situation, one couldn't access treatment and so on and so forth. So that needs to be very clear. Now, the commonest and fairly reliable way of doing it is to understand the excess death that's occurred over the previous year. That's pretty simple. Now, what's happening here is we are getting an excess death count of about 5 lakhs and a decline in the count of registered births. Now, what this actually means is that the registration system is also under strain. Just like hospitals are under strain, registration systems are also under strain. And that's what the fall in birth registrations point to. Now, therefore, even in that stressed situation, you have 5 lakh more registered deaths. Now, what is crucial to understand is, and based on which corrections will actually be made, these are not to be read off directly. This will require some more computations, which demographic experts will do. But that correction factor comes on the basis of the extent of decline of birth rates, which show the stress the registration system is. Now, what the CRS tells us is that this is to the extent of about 2.5%, but this is for the country as a whole. Take the case of Andhra Pradesh, which has 90% death registration, which is one of the highest registrations. There, mind you, the decline in birth registration is to the extent of 6.5%. Now, these are the kind of adjustments that one will...
Dr. Dasgupta, are you saying that because there was so much load, the registrations of birth have gone down because that system could not handle it?
No. The point is that births have gone down and deaths have gone up, which probably indicates, and I repeat, the demographic experts will make final computation that the actual increase in death after adjusting this is likely to be higher than what we are reading directly here at 5 lakhs or so. So this will need to take into account different states, the extent to which accurate registration or timely registration happens. Also, it's a factor of the age structure of that particular state population and so on and so forth. It's complex, but these are not the final figures. But given that that the birth registration shows a decline, there is definitely room for accepting that there are excess deaths, or rather these excess deaths are real.
Well, the excess deaths are definitely real. This data is important because it has, in a sense, become a hallmark of how India fared during COVID-19. And the accusation has been there towards several government, state and centre, if I may add, that the real number is not being reflected. Now, is that a lapse or not will remain to be seen. Thank you so much, Dr. Dasgupta, for joining us. Now, the much-awaited and India's biggest IPO, that's the Life Insurance Corporation IPO, opens for the public tomorrow. The price ranges 902 rupees to 940 rupees per share, and it remains open for bidding to the general public till the 9th of May. About nearly 16 lakh shares have been reserved for employees. 2.21 crore shares are reserved for policy holders. Let me go across to my colleague Hina Gambhir, who's telling us why this IPO is so hotly awaited.
Well, that's right. Life Insurance Corporation, or LIC, is one company that has truly touched the life of every Indian. As the tagline says, Zindagi ke saath bhi, Zindagi ke baad bhi. And the much awaited, the mother of all IPOs is opening. The issue price is 902 to 949 rupees. So that's the band that investors will have to keep in mind. The government has decided to sell 3.5% stock in LIC, the Life Insurance Corporation, which is the biggest public sector insurance company in India. Currently, government holds 100% stake in Life Insurance Corporation, but after this IPO or initial public offering, an opportunity that is there for all of us to be able to own a share of LIC. The government will be offloading 3.5% stake. With this, the government is planning to get somewhere around 21,000 1,000 crore rupees, and it is clearly an opportunity for everyone. Plus, it comes with a discount as well. A specific discount is there for policy holders, and a discount is there for the employees of LIC.
And one of the other big stories of the day, Prime Minister Modi, who was on a visit to Europe, interacted with the Indian diaspora in Denmark's Copenhagen. PM Modi lauded the warm welcome and earlier today held bilateral talks with the Denmark PM. The leaders discussed a host of issues, including India-US relations, climate change, green energy technology, and the situation in Ukraine.
मेरा यहाँ जो भव्य स्वागत किया, उसके लिए मैं आप सभी का बहुत आभारी हूं। आज प्रधानमंत्री फेडरेशन का यहां होना इस बात का प्रमाण है कि भारतीयों के प्रति उनके दिल में कितना प्यार और सम्मान है। मैं उन्हें इस कार्यक्रम के लिए समय निकालने के लिए यहां रूबरू आने के लिए हृदय से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं।
So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech has just got over and people have started to come out. We are joined by a volunteer as well and who was present. Can you tell us a bit what you felt about the speech and what was it like?
I'm totally speechless. I have a goosebump everywhere in my body. And the Modi's speech is actually touched the heart. Whatever we are thinking from many, many years between the partnership between Denmark and India. And right now we see that it is going to be executed. You know? So that is the thing we are missing now.
Can you also share your views? What are your thoughts about both the Prime Minister actually came together on stage? I think that was something different.
It's amazing he came here to Denmark. It's the first time he's been here. It's amazing we organized this all together. All these Indian people have organized this. This is the people who have done this. Not few people, everybody have done this.
And as such, for Indian diaspora, it's a very privileged thing to happen because Denmark is such a small country, and Prime Minister of India is coming to Denmark. It's a very privileged thing. Yeah.
All right, big stories today. Section 144 and curfew has been imposed in Jodhpur after clashes broke out yesterday on the eve of Eid. More than 50 people have been arrested so far. Situation in the city continues to remain tense after a high-level meeting called by the Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and Home Minister Rajendra Yadav, as well as with the ADG Law and Order and other senior officials, have been ordered to immediately leave for Jodhpur. Two groups clashed over the hoisting of saffron flags on Monday night. In order to maintain law and order, internet services were also suspended in the city.
जोधपुर में जो तनाव पैदा हुआ है कल देर रात से वो बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। मैं अपील करना चाहूँगा कि तमाम लोग शांति बनाए रखें और तनाव समाप्त करें और जो लोग फिर भी ऐसे कोई तत्व एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट आते हैं तो सख्ती से निपटा जाएगा। ये मैंने पुलिस को निर्देश दे दिए हैं।
Meanwhile, politics continues over the clashes. Union Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal has alleged that the Rajasthan Chief Minister is responsible for the clashes in Jodhpur. Union Minister Gajendra Shekhawat also warned of massive protests if no action is taken.
जोधपुर की घटना घटी है, ये उसी श्रृंखला का परिणाम है जो वर्तमान में जो कांग्रेस की सरकार है, अशोक गहलोत जी के नेतृत्व में चल रही है, उसने तुष्टीकरण की नीति को अपना लिया। चाहे आप करौली की घटना देख लें, चाहे अलवर के राजघाट की घटना देख लें, चाहे आप कल रात को घटी घटना जो जोधपुर में घटी जालोरी गेट पे, उसको देख लें। उन सब का परिणाम ये निकलता है हमारी दृष्टि में कि सरकार ने तुष्टीकरण की नीति को अपना लिया, इसलिए कानून व्यवस्था बिगड़ती जा रही है। हमारा इतिहास गवाह है जी, जब जब जिन सरकारों ने तुष्टीकरण की नीति को अपनाया और इस तरह की घटनाएं होती आई है जी, ये तुष्टीकरण की नीति का ही परिणाम है। और इसमें तो मुख्यमंत्री खुद गृह मंत्री है जी, उनको जिम्मेदारी लेनी चाहिए और उनका इलाका भी है उनका।
All right, the other big political update, and this one from Maharashtra. Amidst the loudspeaker row, MNS chief Raj Thackeray has asked his party workers to play Hanuman Chalisa in public wherever there's a loudspeaker tomorrow. Pune police has issued notices to several persons amidst the row. Earlier, a case had been registered against him in Aurangabad in the backdrop of his recent rally. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has asked Home Minister Dilip Walse Patil to ensure that police do not need to wait for orders and approvals if there is a situation that could hamper peace in the state.
The political atmosphere in Maharashtra has again heated over the issue of loudspeaker. The ultimatum given by Mr. Raj Thackeray to the government, and at the same time what he tweeted as the next course of action, remains the same. And he reiterated his stand that he, along with the party workers, and he also appealed to the people of Maharashtra to come out and play Hanuman Chalisa against the loudspeaker which are placed upon the mosque. And at the same time, what we hear from the Mumbai police sources, in Mumbai around 803 mosques have already taken permission out of 1144 mosques to use loudspeaker in the prescribed limits and the rules that has been directed by the Mumbai police. And at the same time, we can see the confrontation that is still going on, because Mumbai police at one hand are prepared enough to tackle any kind of situation which can arise tomorrow. At the same time, the stand of Raj Thackeray remains the same, where he has appealed to every Maharashtrian, every citizen of Maharashtra to come out and recite Hanuman Chalisa against the mosque who are playing azan or other sorts of thing through the loudspeaker.
Well, that's a story to watch out for tomorrow. That's all the time we have on this edition of Beyond the Headlines. Thank you as always for joining us.